You understand, Bill don't own anything. He never will. He knows himself that the laws of the land, all the way from what would be known as 1513, during a moment when the Roman Catholic Church was trying to rule the earth, that they were told then that the land cannot be sold, it cannot be transferred, it cannot be leased, it cannot be deed until the last name of the person that was on the treaty as the true family of the true royal family, 100 years, 99 years and 1 day after the last would be living relative or a person that was connected to it would have passed, only then would there even be someone who could consider to try to sell the land. I don't know the last time Mr. Gates checked, but I had a lot of relatives on the planet. Last time I checked, a lot of them have passed away in the last few years. But I can assure him that it has not yet been 99 years and 1 day since they passed. So he can't purchase anything. I don't know where the rumor started. I don't even know if Mr. Gates started the rumor himself. Don't care. What I can assure him is that he don't have no bill of sale. He's going to be moving off the land regardless of how much money he claims to have, because I know for a fact his money does not outweigh the law. As a matter of fact, I want Mr. Gates to hear this because I know he's listening. He didn't listen when I told him about he and his wife, and it was only a matter of time before they had some problems. He didn't listen then, so perhaps maybe he'll listen to this. Mr. Gates, the last time I checked, I brought some people in as my royal family with me. I found them. I tested their blood, DNA, and RNA for your would-be. I need you to understand that if you might bring your attention to it. I checked their DNA and RNA. And I found out that these people and myself, we are one family. We're part of the royal family together. So when I checked the Chinese, when I checked the Japanese, when I checked all of their blood, I realized that we're family. And what I did, I just tied my family into everything that's on the planet. I.e., number one, the land. Remember, that is the only true law of the land. It is yeah, you're right. It's the main law of the land, right? I need you to understand that, again, I am not bluffing. If you think that I'm bluffing, go right ahead and keep claiming the land, because right now it's a war that is beginning to build itself in the South China Sea. When it's finished building itself, it's going to be coming toward your would-be so-called land that is already part of the land and the sea in which China is connected to. I need you to understand that so am I. I'm connected to it too. I keep hearing all the people asking me about enforcement. I don't need any enforcement. America needs some enforcement. Well, matter of fact, unless America can destroy all 198 nations in 6 hours that they claim to have won wars, I need them to understand they're not going anywhere. I know. I've heard that too. They've told me that coming all the way from Congress. What a unique idea. What a brilliant idea. For one, to tie everybody on the planet down, that they all will have nothing more than their mind set on it based upon the fact that everyone now is so connected because they're looking out for their own interests. Yeah, I purposely put them in there to have an interest because I know that it was one nation under God, individual. Well, now I know it claimed to have been, that was going to try to muscle everybody around and steal the land from the true royal owners and try to pass it off like they did back in the 1940s when they passed it off to the family in which was not even part of the Romanov family because they were none other than those that were classified as being a part of the Windsor family. And the Windsor family was trying to claim to be part of would-be King Edward the second or the third or the fourth, only to muster up some would-be lie about some King Edward the fifth, knowing that King Edward would have been in a long line of knots compared to those that were classified to be King Henry. And King Henry would have come from King David. Yeah, we're back to the biblical times again. I understand that. I'm clearing it up, United States, for you, because so many people in the United States of America right now is suffering. And they're suffering mostly from arrogance and ignorance. It has nothing to do with struggling financially. Again, I said they're struggling from arrogance and ignorance. But if they believe by any chance that all the nations are just going to go away and let he or she's interest go to America just because America claims to be some so-called would-be powerful nation with some so-called powerful leader, I say again, prepare for war. Brilliant, they say. Who would have thought about doing something like that? Most of the people in the Senate right now is saying that, wow, we're actually going to lose our democracy because someone came up with a brilliant idea to tie all of the nations to our would-be belongings. Let me help you out. You didn't belong to anything. Nothing belonged to you. Nobody know where you really came from, other than the Europeans that kicked you out of the nation in which you were in. They put you in jail and in a place where they believed that you wasn't going to find any friends because there were so many people that it did not look like you. They should have realized that you were their greatest would-be criminals. You were the hard criminals in which they themselves were only trying to get rid of you one way or the other. They should have realized that if you had survived as a criminal under their system, you were going to survive as a criminal under anyone's system. And as King George III would have said himself, the only way to having a couple of friends in Europe decided to not let's destroy them, but let's find some place else to put them. We don't want to have our hands dirty with that. So let us give our headaches to someone else. So it goes. And they sailed them on a ship, and they placed them all on there and called them pilgrims. And they shipped them off to a place that was unknown to the world, just so they might be able to incarcerate them. I'm just giving you the truth based upon what's going on right now, because no nation right now is willing to bow down to a nation that's classified as the United States of America, that all of the documents in which America has bought cannot be authenticated. It cannot be confirmed, because those documents keep saying that they appeal to a higher power that gave them the right to be able to take over 7 nations in which they found themselves incarcerated around. And right now, nobody can find that higher power. They've checked. It didn't come from King George III. Well, I know America wasn't classifying him as the higher power. No, they said that they got it from some higher power, some God. So now that every nation has set off and they have set their feet forth to go find that God, no one has found that God yet. No one. And even though they claim that this God had a name that came through some Christianity system, no one still can find him. As a matter of fact, they can't even find his gravesite. And even though America has tried to claim him to be the one that was laying in a tomb in Jerusalem, outside of Bethlehem and Judea, no one has found that particular burial site yet. No one. And those that keep going down, visiting this so-called site where Jesus the Christ once laid his head just while he was wrapped in swaddling cloth, where supposedly he had a stone rolled about the doorway, all of that has been found to be commercialized and set up by those that were in Jerusalem of what is known as Israeli and not the true Israel. They set it up as a commercial site. Commercial site, yeah. Everyone could visit it, and they would pay money to see it. They would even pay money to travel to go see it. And now I can assure you that the majority of the people who have went to visit that site has been classified as melanated people from America. Negroes, they call them. That has been their majority of the people who have visited that site. I'm just giving you the truth. And the people that are there in Jerusalem, being South Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, East Jerusalem, and North Jerusalem, has not yet told them that they have visited every Jerusalem site that they have. And every site has had a burial place for the one they call Jesus the Christ. And everyone has collected on it. Everyone has got a substantial amount of the American would-be gold, just to be able to present this site to the people who was on a would-be trip. Yeah, a trip. No, it wasn't a journey to Mecca. It was just a journey to find the so-called would-be burial site of the one they crucified called Jesus the Christ, which no one can truly find that site yet. I'll tell you why they can't, because they keep going to Israel, calling it Israeli, when the burial site in which took place and buried the one they called Jesus the Christ was in Washington, D.C. Yeah, there was once upon a time called Dark Country, D.C. You'll catch it in a minute. Chocolate City. Yeah, that's where Jesus the Christ is buried at. Or you will find a burial site there for him. Go ahead. Ask your senators. Ask your senate. Most of them already know it. They're part of the secret society. They already know where Golgotha is. They already know where the head of the one they call to be nothing more than the skull, the behemoth. And most of them try to pass the behemoth off to be nothing more than some would-be lamb. The behemoth and the lamb is two different animals. I need you to understand that. Yeah, the behemoth, he looks more like what would be known as a horned would-be cow with long horns that's straight up rather than out like a would-be so-called longhorn from Texas. A behemoth. He's not the ram. But that head and the shape of it is still in Washington, D.C. as we so speak. And that is where they will find the tomb of the one they keep calling Jesus the Christ. You know, you paid your money to go to Jerusalem. You paid your money to go to Bethlehem and Judea. I know you paid your money. You traveled over there. A lot of people stayed once they got over there. They said they felt some type of spirit that drew them to the place. I can assure them it was surely not the spirit of Jesus the Christ that drew you there. Maybe it was the cheap wine or the cheap women, or even you were able to get a cheap would-be wardrobe. But it definitely wasn't no spirit of Jesus the Christ that drew you to the Jerusalem over there in Israel, that they keep calling Israel. Perhaps maybe it was some of those cheap carpets that most of the senators bought back. Carpets in which they say they paid thousands of dollars for, which in all actuality they could have got them for about $10 or $20 had they walked over just a few more blocks from the place they were purchasing. Stay with me. Stop it. Reality now we must deal with. Property developers discover secret passageways around bookshelves in America where the bookshelves are to be 5 years old in a house. Now, how can you actually be in a 500-year-old house and you only been in existence for 250 years? Wow. How can you only have had slavery for 250 years when there's a house with a hidden bookshelf in it that's 500 years old? I only bring out things like this at this moment because it's to bring the reality of the people in whom I'm talking to, who they say 2 out of 3 of them believe in the monetary system, but 2 out of 3 of them cannot even find out or even allow themselves to understand the truth about the nation in which they're claiming have all these finances.